SourceFed Movie Club. You guys did Airplane last week, and I was too fucking busy to submit a video. Sorry for that. For the record, Airplane is one of the best comedies to come out in the 80s. But, moving on. SourceFed Movie Club, how you doing? This week's movie for the SourceFed Movie Club is Spaceballs, another fucking awesome comedy from the 80s. Probably one of the best comedies from the 80s. It's hard to judge. It all depends on your taste in comedy. But honestly, this is the work of director Mel Brooks, and I think this is Mel Brooks at his best. This is my favorite Mel Brooks movie of all time. So, and I'll explain why, of course. So let's see. Spaceballs came out in 1987, like just a few years after the original Star Wars trilogy. So like after the fun of the Star Wars trilogy was just, still in the back of our minds, still fading, he hits us with this parody that was just fucking hilarious from start to finish. I love this movie, and I love how much it made fun of Star Wars. As much as I like the original trilogy of Star Wars, in my mind, sci-fi needs to be made fun of more often. Sci-fi has this tendency of attracting really die-hard fans, really hardcore fans, who get a little full of themselves. Science fiction in general can get a little full of itself now and then, which is why it needs to be taken down and made fun of now and then. By a master like Mel Brooks, no less. He did a great job with this, in that he points out just how archetypal and how very basic the characters, the character dynamics of Star Wars is, the original Star Wars, A New Hope, and how it's just your standard, the rogue, the hero, the damsel in distress, the dark villain, very standardized characters when you think about it. I mean, that's what makes A New Hope such a classic, okay? So what does he do with each of these roles? He turns them right on their heads. He twists them into something that points out the ridiculousness of the whole thing. He takes the roaring sidekick Chewbacca and turns it into big funny Barf, played by John Candy. He takes the scoundrel, the rogue, Han Solo, and turns him into an idiot, Lone Star, played by Bill Pullman. He turns the Princess Leia into Princess Brad, who just, wants to drive away in her Mercedes and not get married, and of course, turns the Dark Overlord into Rick Moranis in a helmet that's like 3 times wider than his head, okay? Perfect! It's perfect. It's a perfect opportunity to point out just how silly these things are, or how silly they can be. Then he goes after Star Trek, pointing out how silly beaming can be. That's one of my favorite scenes, is the whole beaming scene, where he gets beamed with his head on backwards and looks down and says, "Why didn't somebody tell me my ass was so big?" And then of course at the end, I don't want to spoil too much about the ending, but at the end, in the diner, where he does a parody of Alien, go see this movie, you just gotta see that. So that's 3 major icons of science fiction, Alien, Star Trek, and Star Wars, and he just slaps them all with how silly they all look, okay? And the silliness is what makes this movie so beautiful, the silliness of it, the kind of slapstick humor of it, and one of the most unexpected jokes, just one of the most brilliant jokes, my absolute favorite scene in this whole movie, is when they're in the middle of filming Spaceballs, and that's when he says, "Quick, bring me Spaceballs the movie." "How can we get Spaceballs the movie? We're still making it." No, they have instant cassettes now. So they put in the video cassette of Spaceballs, and as they're watching it, they get to the point of now where he's looking into the camera, looks into the camera, and it's just so freaking, it's just a beautiful filmic sight gag where he says, "What the hell am I looking at? Now. You're looking at now. What happened to then? We passed then. When? Just now." It makes for like the classic kind of Abbott and Costello fast talk kind of scene too. Brilliant. That whole scene is just freaking brilliant. If you love sci-fi at all, you have to see this movie. In my mind, Spaceballs is just as iconic a sci-fi film as the original Star Wars trilogy, any movie that Star Trek has put out, Aliens itself, another icon of sci-fi. You can just write this movie off as a comedy, but it's a sci-fi comedy. So if you love sci-fi at all, you have to see this film. And it's a film that we need more of, damn it. Because like I said, way too often sci-fi gets a little too full of itself. So it needs to be taken down a notch. It needs to be made fun of. I'm looking at you, Disney, you who now own the rights and could easily make a whole bunch of satirical parodies about those fucking Star Wars prequels. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Fucking make it happen, okay? If there's any movies that need to be made fun of badly, they're just craving an ass kicking is those fucking, I could go on and on about the prequels, but I won't. All right. So, point being, we need more movies like this. We need more parodies. Sci-Fi, this is a brilliant parody of sci-fi in general, which is why if you love sci-fi, you have to see this movie. So SourceFed Movie Club, thank you for choosing great movies. Keep on choosing great movies, and I'll see you next time on SourceFed Movie Club.